Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Welcome to another edition of the Hack Learning Podcast. It's what you can do tomorrow. I'm your host, Mark Barnes, and in the open, I gave that quote about habits and compound interest of self-improvement, and that comes from popular author, speaker, blogger, and habits guru James Clear. Clear is the author of the new Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. He has a simple formula for making your habits atomic. I've been following James Clear for a long time. I've been reading his popular website, jamesclear.com, and he shares incredible insight there. And believe me, when I say popular, I mean, he has millions of readers and an email newsletter that he sends out weekly that has nearly 500,000 subscribers. So there's a lot of people out there who believe that James Clear is truly a habits guru, a self-improvement expert. We had originally planned to do an interview, and then the day we had it scheduled, something came up on my end, a little bit of an emergency, and I couldn't do it. We just got to a point where his book was coming, and we couldn't get together to talk on the air. We just communicated, and I said, let me ask you some questions. We did this through email, and I want to share with you some of the things that Clear says about atomic habits. And you can find this material over on our show notes page at hacklearning.org/habits. So let's get back to compound interest. I asked James, I said, in your new book, Atomic Habits, you say habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Talk about this statement. And Clear says this: the basic idea is that habits don't add up, they compound. The same way your money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. This process can work for you or against you. That is, habits are a double-edged sword. We've all experienced this with bad habits. Eating junk food or procrastinating for an hour seem like insignificant choices on any given day, but when you repeat them week after week, they can really add up or compound. It is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes very obvious. Clear says this is why it is so important to understand how habits work. You want to be able to design them to help you rather than hinder you. Understanding habits allows you to avoid the dangerous half of the blade on that double-edged sword. I asked James, I said, people often connect habits to goals, but in Atomic Habits, you say, forget about goals and focus on systems. Why should we forget about goals, and what systems should we focus on? And I want to share this with you, but before I do that, I want to tell you about the Unseries. I think teachers who become unforgettable are those that create the kind of atomic habits that James Clear talks about in his book. I think that to be unforgettable, you have to have these kinds of habits. And I would like for you to see what Chuck Poole, author of Unforgettable, says about becoming unforgettable. And a lot of what is in his new book, the subtitle is Your Roadmap to Being the Teacher They Never Forget, is habitual. He's giving you practical strategies that you can turn into habits that kids will love and that will make you an unforgettable teacher. And I'm hoping that you will check out Unforgettable and the rest of the Unseries at unseries.com, and it's linked over on our show notes page as well. Check out unseries.com today, and I hope you'll read Unforgettable, Your Roadmap to Being the Teacher They Never Forget. Now let's get back to what James Clear says about atomic habits. He says that we shouldn't focus on goals, we should focus on systems. This is one of the core philosophies of atomic habits, Clear says. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Setting a goal is fairly easy. Anyone can sit down for 10 minutes and complete a goal-setting exercise. But what you find is that setting a goal often has very little to do with actually achieving a particular outcome. In fact, the winners and losers in any particular domain often have the same goals. Clear says every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Every candidate wants to get the job. And if successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates them. I think it comes down to the system that you follow each day. And in his book, Atomic Habits, Clear gives dozens of strategies and examples of how to build a system of atomic habits that make it easier to stick to good habits and break bad ones. So what are these systems? We want to compound our habits, and that's great for self-improvement, and we want to understand the difference in setting goals and actually creating habits for success. And systems, as we know, have subsystems. So let's take a look at a system that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. So I asked him, give us something that my listeners can grab hold of and say, okay, here's something you could do today. James Clear talks about the 2-minute rule. And you can see this over on our show notes page at hacklearning.org/habits. The 2-minute rule states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. You'll find that nearly any habit can be scaled into a 2-minute version. Here are some examples. Read before bed each night. Now, this might be a goal, right? This becomes, in the 2-minute rule, read 1 page. Another goal might be do 30 minutes of yoga. And this becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Fold the laundry becomes fold 1 pair of socks. Run 3 miles becomes tie my running shoes. Clear says the idea is to make your habits as easy as possible to start. Anyone can meditate for 1 minute, read 1 page, or put 1 item of clothing away. And, as we have just discussed, this is a powerful strategy because once you've started doing the right thing, it is much easier to continue doing it. A new habit should not feel like a challenge. The actions that follow can be challenging, but the first 2 minutes should be easy. What you want is a gateway habit that naturally leads you down a more productive path. So you think about going back to the open and talking about compounding. We need compound habits for self-improvement, and we need to start small with a 2-minute strategy, a 2-minute version of a much larger goal. I love the read before bed each night, or just read every day. We talk so much on this show about the value of reading, not just for adults, but we want to certainly instill this value and lifelong habit in kids. And a lot of times reluctant readers are overwhelmed. You give them a book and they go, wow, I can never get through that. But what if you gave them a book and said, read 1 page? And eventually what will happen is they'll become engaged with the material and want to read more. And that simple habit will compound. I just love this system that is a part of James Clear's Atomic Habits. I asked Clear to share a little bit more about him and where you can find Atomic Habits. He says, I write about self-improvement tips based on proven scientific research. Newsletter subscribers get a new article from me each week about topics like habits, decision-making, and continuous improvement, and over 400,000 people subscribe. So you're a part of an audience when you subscribe to James Clear's newsletter that wants to be better, that wants to improve, set goals, and certainly create these systems of good habits that we have talked about and that James Clear has so generously shared. Hey, I hope you will get over to atomichabits.com. This is linked on our show notes page. Go to atomichabits.com if you're just listening and you're eager to check this out. You can learn all about James Clear's new book. Clear has appeared in the New York Times, Entrepreneur, Time Magazine, CBS This Morning. As I've said, his website receives millions of visitors every month. Nearly 500,000 people subscribe to his newsletter. It's research-based. This guy is a self-improvement and habits guru and was very generous to get back to me when we couldn't connect. I want to thank James Clear for that. Check out atomichabits.com. Look inside Atomic Habits. If you go there and you're getting this when we release the show, you'll see that there's an opportunity to get Clear's new book at 40% off, so check it out today. And you can read more about James Clear and Atomic Habits over at hacklearning.org/habits. Thank you for listening to the Hack Learning Podcast. Please check out hacklearningbooks.com and don't miss the new Unseries at unseries.com.